the 17th century, in a small village in western Japan, there was a young man named Jiro. Jiro was not a samurai. He was the son of a swordsmith, a boy who spent his days carrying coal, pumping the bellows, watching sparks leap from red-hot steel. But inside him, something burned hotter than the forge fire. A quiet, stubborn wish to become the greatest swordsman in the land. Every night, Jiro lay on his straw mat, listening to the wind lift the corners of the thatched roof. In his mind, he stood on a hilltop with a sword in his hand, clothes fluttering, eyes steady, invincible. But every morning, when the first light slipped through the paper doors, he could not even lift his body from the mat. He knew he needed to train. He knew he had ambition. Yet between his dream and his first step, there was a gap as wide as a river. Jiro stood on one bank, success shimmered on the other, and he never set foot in the water. Until one day, an old swordsman passed through the village. His hair was white, his kimono plain, his movements quiet as falling leaves. Jiro expected secret techniques, dramatic poses, the promise of instant power. But the old man did not draw his sword. He only said one simple thing: you do not need to swing 1,000 cuts. You only need to make one cut each day. If you are listening to this now, perhaps you are not so different from Jiro. You have ambition. You see yourself in a future where you are disciplined, successful, respected. But here, in this moment, your body sinks deeper into the chair, your phone glows in your hand, and your work waits untouched. You are not broken. You are just standing on the riverbank, staring at the other side. Before we cross, let's do something very small together. Breathe in slowly through your nose. Feel the air move, cool into your chest. Hold it for a brief moment. Then exhale, long and soft, like letting go of a weight you've carried all day. Again, in, out, nothing heroic. Just a small, honest movement of life. Now let's look at this quietly. Ambitious but lazy. It sounds like an insult, but it is actually a very human trap. Modern neuroscience has a name for it. Some call it the ambition paradox. When you imagine your future success, when you picture yourself fit, rich, respected, your brain releases dopamine, the same chemical it releases when you actually move toward your goal. The brain does not fully distinguish between the fantasy and the first step. It rewards you for the daydream. Researchers have found that when we choose immediate pleasures, scrolling, snacking, another episode, an older part of the brain lights up, the emotional system that loves comfort and quick rewards. But when we choose long-term action, study, training, deep work, a different part of the brain, the prefrontal cortex, has to wake up. It is the part that plans, that holds a vision, that says no when everything inside you is whispering later. So inside you, two voices speak. One says, rest, you've done enough, we can start tomorrow. The other says, stand up, begin, just for a moment. When the first voice wins, you call yourself lazy. You open your phone, drift through other people's lives, then feel your own slipping away. But here is something important. What looks like laziness is often self-protection. Your brain whispers, if I do not start, I cannot fail. If I do not try, I do not have to face the truth that I am not yet who I want to be. Procrastination is not just a bad habit, it is fear dressed in comfortable clothes. Fear of not being good enough, fear of being judged, fear that even if you try, nothing will change. That is why motivational slogans and aggressive just do it speeches often do not work. They attack the smoke instead of finding the fire. Long before modern psychology, warriors faced the same river. Miyamoto Musashi, perhaps the greatest swordsman in Japanese history, wrote in the Book of Five Rings. In battle or in daily life, one must be decisive yet calm, facing every situation without tension but without haste. Discipline for Musashi did not come from rage or stress. It came from stillness, from a mind that did not run away. Another samurai sage, Yamamoto Tsunetomo, wrote in Hagakure that a human life is nothing more than a chain of moments. There is nothing else to chase except the purpose of this exact moment in front of you. The samurai was not asked to do everything at once. He was asked to be fully present with the one thing he was doing now, whether that was sharpening a blade, drinking tea, or stepping into combat. And in our time, far from dusty battlefields, a psychologist named Robert Mara studied how people change. His conclusion was simple and quietly powerful. Massive change does not begin with massive action. It begins with steps so small they almost feel foolish. A sentence on a blank page, 1 minute of walking, a single deep breath before you open your laptop instead of opening another app. 3 different eras, 3 different worlds. The same truth, greatness does not come from one giant leap. It rises from countless small, consistent steps. The Japanese have a word for this, Kaizen. It simply means change for the better. After the Second World War, Japan lay in ruins. Factories shattered, cities burned, people exhausted. They could not rebuild everything overnight. So they began with what they had, small, steady improvements. Engineers, workers, managers, everyone asked the same simple question each day: how can this be a little better? Over time, these tiny adjustments transformed companies like Toyota into global giants, not through miracles, but through millions of small corrections. Kaizen is not about sudden transformation, it is about quiet evolution. And this is where your life comes in. If you want to write a book, your mind will scream for a perfect chapter. Ignore it. Write 1 sentence, just 1. A single line that might not even be good. You are not writing a book. You are training your nervous system to show up. If you want a strong body, your ego will demand a perfect workout plan, the best gym, the right outfit. Let it talk. Then simply stand up, roll your shoulders, and take 3 slow, conscious breaths while feeling your feet on the floor. Tomorrow, add 10 push-ups or a 5-minute walk. Nothing dramatic, just a little more than yesterday. If you want to learn a new skill, coding, drawing, a language, do not drown yourself in 10 videos and 20 tabs. Watch 1 minute of a lesson, then practice for 1 minute. When your mind complains, "This is too little, it won't matter," smile gently. You are practicing Kaizen, not perfection. Why does this work? Because fear lives in big goals. When you tell yourself, "Starting tomorrow, I will work for 6 hours a day," your amygdala, the part of the brain that guards against danger, hears a threat. It imagines exhaustion, failure, humiliation. It responds with resistance, distraction, and a tight, heavy feeling in your chest. But when your step is small, almost laughably small, that alarm does not go off. The guard stays sleepy. You slip past quietly and do the thing again and again and again. Of course, the mind will resist this simplicity. It will say, 1 sentence a day, 1 minute of practice. At this rate, I will never reach my dream. That is a reasonable question. But then ask yourself, in the last year, chasing big plans and waiting for the perfect mood, how many sentences did you write? How many days did you practice consistently? The honest answer, for many people, is close to 0. Kaizen is not about speed. It is about beginning. It is about forming a path where there was only forest. Once a path appears, your steps become easier. Momentum grows. What starts as 1 sentence becomes a paragraph. What starts as 1 minute becomes 20. But you must allow yourself to start small. Another barrier rises. I need motivation first. Samurai did not wait for motivation. In Bushido, the way of the warrior, action comes before feeling. A samurai did not stand at the edge of the battlefield and say, "I will charge when I feel ready." Readiness was a decision made long before the sword was drawn. When the moment arrived, he simply moved. You do not need to feel inspired to start. You only need to be willing to take one small, honest step while feeling exactly how you feel right now. Tired, anxious, doubtful. Action first, emotion later. The last objection is quiet, but powerful. This is too simple, it cannot work. Yet simplicity is exactly its strength. The largest car manufacturer in the world improved itself not through huge revolutions, but through constant tiny corrections. If an empire of machines can be transformed by small, daily changes, why not the landscape of your own mind? To walk the Kaizen path, you must also know what to put down. You cannot cross a mountain trail if your pack is stuffed with unnecessary stones. Let go of comparison, staring at the highlight reels of others and feeling that you are behind. Their path is theirs, their mountain is theirs. Yours is different. When your eyes are fixed on someone else's road, you trip on the stones at your feet. Let go of perfectionism. The need to have the perfect plan, the perfect mood, the perfect timing before you act. Perfectionism is just fear wearing expensive clothes. It says, if it cannot be perfect, it is not worth doing. The warrior knows that imperfect practice is still practiced, and perfect ideas without action are just mist over the river. What should you keep? Only a few simple things. Your breath. Notice it, in, out. This is your anchor. When anxiety rises, when envy burns, when procrastination whispers, return to the feeling of air entering and leaving your body. Your present task, not the whole project, not your 5-year plan, only the one movement before you, one email, one page, one set, one call. Treat it as a samurai would treat the single cut that might decide a duel. With full attention, no drama. Your next small step. Not the 100 you imagine, just the next one. Ask yourself quietly, what is the smallest action I can take toward my goal right now that I cannot reasonably refuse? Then do exactly that. Now, let us walk back to the village where we began. After hearing the old master's words, Jiro did not become a swordsman overnight. The next morning, when the first light touched the tatami, he rose. His legs were still heavy, his doubts were still there. But he picked up a wooden sword, stepped outside and made one cut in the empty air. Just one. The following day, he did the same. One cut. Then another day and another. Soon, one cut became 2. 2 became 10. 10 became 100. 10 years passed. The boy who could not get off his mat became the finest swordsman for miles around. Not because he was gifted, not because he found a secret shortcut, but because every day he allowed himself to be a little better than yesterday. You do not need to transform your life tonight. You do not need to defeat your laziness in one grand battle. You only need to take one small step. When this video ends, write one sentence, read one page, do 5 push-ups, breathe deeply for 30 seconds while your work is open in front of you. Do it gently, without violence toward yourself, but with the quiet resolve of a warrior sharpening his blade at dusk. Remember, the road of 1,000 miles does not begin with a heroic leap. It begins with a single, almost invisible movement of the foot, and that first step does not need to be big. It only needs to be real.